Hi, everyone. I'm going to put my timer on to make sure I stay on time. Thanks for coming. I'm Susan Kim. I'm one of the pediatric rheumatologists from UCSF. I'm here to talk to you guys about the CARRA Registry and the Biobank, what it is and why it's important. So I'm the vice chair of the CARRA JDM subcommittee. And just to tell you a little bit about CARRA, Dr. Reed presented it a little bit earlier on today, but CARRA is the Childhood Arthritis and Rheumatology Research Alliance. It's made up of over 140 centers across North America, and you guys should reach out to your pediatric rheumatologists and make sure that they're a part of CARRA as well, because we want to make our network as big as possible to capture as many patients as possible. So our mission from CARRA dovetails very well with the work of CureJM, and our work wants to conduct collaborative research to prevent, treat, and cure pediatric rheumatic diseases, and our vision is a world free of limitations for pediatric rheumatic diseases. And why do we need CARRA? We need CARRA because there's lots of rare conditions that we deal with in pediatrics. Juvenile arthritis is actually the one that's the most common. It maybe affects 300,000 to 500,000 kids in the U.S. And then, as you know, juvenile myositis affects much fewer patients in the U.S., maybe 5,000. We don't have a good count on that number. But because these conditions are rare, they're hard to study and hard to treat, and we all want better treatments for these conditions. And our focus here is juvenile myositis. Just to give you a background on drug development and just rheumatology in general, if you look at this graph of all kinds of medicines through time from the 1900s on, just for rheumatology in general, including adult rheumatology, you know, it's a pretty full list of medicines and looks pretty satisfactory. But if you look more specifically in juvenile arthritis, there's only actually about a handful of medicines that are FDA approved for the treatment of juvenile arthritis. And that's the most common pediatric rheumatic condition, as we discussed earlier. But when we think about our patients with juvenile myositis, there's actually only one FDA-approved medicine, and that's actually one from the 1950s that was grandfathered in, and it's like a steroid-type medicine with very little information, and we're very unsatisfied with that number of medicines for our kids. So why do we need a registry, and what is a registry? So a registry is a written record containing regular entries of items or details. And just to give you an example of why registries are important, you know, we wouldn't need registries if we had big collections of patients with certain conditions. And a good example of that is asthma. In the US, there's 6.1 million kids with asthma. So it's really easy to study asthma. It's really easy to do clinical trials in asthma. 8.3% of kids in the US have asthma. So there's a huge list of FDA-approved medicines and great treatments for asthma. But does that make it hopeless for us in juvenile myositis? I don't think so, because if we could take an example like cystic fibrosis in the U.S. is very rare. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation developed a registry that started maybe about 40 years ago, and they've had success, and their numbers aren't huge either, and they've had a number of FDA-approved medicines over the past years. So with CARRA, we're trying to develop a registry. We're trying to capture as many patients with pediatric rheumatic conditions as possible. And we want to get a glimpse into the lives and the health of our patients. And we want to collect as much detailed information as possible that's important related to their condition, including your family history, including your lab test results, and including your strength testing, including what your skin looks like, including how your patient-reported outcomes are. And collecting all this information over time, we want to use it as a research tool to understand juvenile myositis better. And then Dr. Reed mentioned earlier that we had a CARRA registry that was our old CARRA registry that was between 2010 and 2014. And from over 60 U.S. centers, we collected over 600 patients with juvenile myositis. So that's a huge number of patients, so we did really well. And there's been a number of publications related to this that is continuing to be analyzed. But now we started a new era with a new CARRA registry collecting even better information, better collated, and also unified with information from the UK as well. And the data from juvenile arthritis started being collected in 2015, and juvenile myositis was just started earlier this winter in February of 2018. So we're off to a start. And we have amazing support from CureJM to do this work, and we couldn't have added, you saw a lot of other diagnoses on the list for CARRA that we treat and follow, but we got added third from the list, and it's from the great support of CureJM that we were able to do that. So thank you to CureJM. So as I said, the new registry is going to have even better information and look a lot like the information that our colleagues in the UK and other places are collecting, so we can really make a world of information and bring that together to move juvenile myositis further. And the intention is to link this information with a biobank in the future. So who's included? So a lot of you guys might not have been asked to be participate in this registry yet, and it's because right now we're focusing on new onset patients within 12 weeks of disease to participate, because the cost of collection of these things is very expensive, so we want to get the best patients possible to start with, and we want to get as homogeneous a population as possible to start too. So what's asked of you if you participate in the registry, you have to consent to it, because we can't take information and put it in a registry without asking you. You have to agree to share your information. There's some forms you fill out as being part of the registry, and we really want to collect patient-reported outcomes, because we really want to know what you guys think. We just don't want to know what we're recording in the lab test. We want to know how you're feeling and how your kids are feeling. And then you have your providers also provide information and assessments to the registry. So what are the benefits of participating in the registry? There's actually no direct benefit to us right now, anyone who participates today. But we're hoping that it empowers you as patients and families to contribute to future knowledge and advancement of juvenile myositis. And we expect in the future that it'll improve what we know, how to conduct the best studies, how to develop the best possible treatments, testing treatments in the future, how to treat to remission and cure, how can we prevent it, so lots of things. And safety monitoring is also a really important part of this registry that's expected to follow kids at least 10 years. So far in the CARRA registry for juvenile arthritis, we've collected almost 5,900 patients. So that's a lot. But like I said, there's maybe 300,000 to 500,000 of those kinds of patients in the US. And we just started with juvenile myositis. Our tally's up to 14 this month. Actually, this says 10, but I was just told that the tally's up to 14. So that's amazing if the incidence of juvenile myositis is 3 in a million per year. So I think that's pretty impressive, and I expect that number to continue to grow. So in addition to the registry, we want to start a biobank. And what is a biobank? So a biobank is kind of what it sounds like. We're collecting precious samples, and storing them and saving them in a way that we could use them to study in the future. And we're collecting them in a very standardized way, so they're stored exactly the same way in the same conditions, so whatever scientists study them later aren't studying something that's degraded. So it's a very specialized way of collecting samples, and this is underway of being finalized, but we're not collecting samples yet. And CureJM is generously donating support for this effort as well, and I think it's really important. And it's really pairing the biobank information and all the samples collected with that, with the registry that's going to go together to help us really move forward. There's 40 sites in the US approved for biosample collection right now, and all the samples are going to be delivered to 2 sites, one in North America and one in Cincinnati, where they'll be stored and used when we have great studies for the samples. So why should we join a registry? So it's an opportunity to contribute to the legacy registry with observational studies, hope to contribute to better diagnosis and evaluation. Maybe I'm hoping clinical trials in the future in the context of the registry. We're hoping to improve quality of care, studies of cause of juvenile myositis, and treatment too. So So I think that that's the end of my slide, so thanks.